Hey, this is the third in the series of videos on the Maltese Cross. And as I've mentioned in my ForSavingOrg blog, the Maltese Cross is the symbol of fire and rescue service around the world today. This historic tradition of the Maltese Cross challenges those bearing the sign to represent four virtues: faith, sometimes defined as wisdom, fortitude, justice, and temperance. Let me share the vow of an original Knight of Hospitallers. You can be found at www.knightsofhospitallers.org/vows. Upon the true faith of a Christian, may God witness that I hereby vow and dedicate myself as a servant of Christ and the poor, the first qualification of a true knight. I promise to be faithful and loyal to Christ and to be guided by ideals of the sovereign order of St. John of Jerusalem, to do everything in my power to contribute to its glory, protection, prosperity, support, and utility, to combat everything prejudicial to its well-being, never to act contrary to its dignity, but to conduct myself always as a true knight of Christ, a good Christian, and a person of honor, believing that Christ will grant me a special token of his favor. I therefore, in all humility, charity, and respect, agree to join with every sincere and godly Christian of whatever church to bring about, by prayer and deed, the salvation of the Christian world, by helping to promote a lasting Christian unity. I will adorn my knighthood with true character, the mother and solid foundation of all virtues. I will wear on my person the Christian Maltese Cross of 8 points to constantly remind me of my religious vow of always bearing in my heart the cross of Jesus Christ, adorned with the virtues that attend it. So help me God. So, was the vow of the original Knights of St. John. As defined in the first paragraph of the vow, being a servant of Christ and the poor, has much to do with the defining of the ideal of justice. Justice must be a difficult word to define. Just try to understand any of the definitions on dictionary.com, which I was on there just a little bit ago, and here's one: justice, the quality of being just, the moral principle of determining just conduct, the maintenance or administration of what is just by law. I don't know about you, but didn't we learn in school that you can't define a word with the word? Many would link justice to the criminal system or to law enforcement, but thinking in those terms limits the understanding of justice. Justice is best defined as, in my opinion, the opportunity for things to be the way they ought to be. This is why we have laws, and why those laws have to be enforced. Law enforcement, criminal justice, the penal system exist so that everyone else can have justice. This means the idea of justice is more foundational than you may have thought. Justice is not so much an action, but justice is a value out of which actions are motivated. Values are innate or internal, and poor values, or you could say the lack of values, cause people to behave in ways that infringe on others' lives, leaving them in a situation of a lack of justice. Justice says people of all kinds are the most valuable assets on the planet and therefore should be treated as such. The bad character trait of greed, to name just one of a whole list of bad character traits, greed precipitates the devaluing of those that have less power, or those who are younger or weaker, or maybe poorer or slower, or even just their station in life, or they come from a generation of great-grandparents and grandparents and parents who are all stuck in this certain phase or station in life. So what does this all mean for fire and rescue? Paramedic professionals. It means that when faulty wiring causes a building to catch fire, that these people run into that building to save those who are inside. Why? Because those people should have the chance to live out their life. When someone runs a red light and careens into another vehicle full of people who are just minding their own business, EMS arrive on the scene and engage all their training and skills to pull the injured from danger, and like the Knights of Hospitallers of old, transport them quickly and safely to the ER. One of the roles that I get involved in as a chaplain involves EMS who've helped someone in a tragic incident that seemed unjust from every angle, and to help facilitate the working through post-traumatic stress that comes with being a part of such an incident. Often these interventions involve tragic results of trying to save a child's life. Where's justice in a child's life being swept away too soon? Or where's the justice of a person who was involved in that incident from the moment that the child ran out in front of their car, and now their life is forever changed? It's past finding out for sure, as it says in Romans 11:33 in our Bibles. Fire and EMS serve uniquely among civil servants. When the call comes through, they have to set aside all opinions as to whether the individuals on call are on the right side of justice, whether they were the object of someone else's infraction of the law, or the injured is the one that's on the wrong side of the law. The focus of the caregivers is exactly that. It's care. In fact, unconditional care. Just like those knights taking their original vow, I hereby vow and dedicate myself as a servant of Christ and the poor, the first qualification of a true knight. Fire and EMS knights themselves as being representing people who are poor. The original meaning of poor had more to do with the inability to save oneself than it had to do with money. To be used on the behalf of justice is really to be used by God. God didn't reach down to us because we deserve it. The Bible says all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. Therefore, at one time or another, we will all need saving, both physically and mentally, emotionally, those things that are more on the spiritual side. This value of justice is a key motivator for those caught daily between the battle and the place of healing, between moments of hopelessness and a moment of hope, between literally life and death. Although no one can bring about justice except for God, understanding one's ability to participate in the process can be great fulfillment to present-day hospitallers. I add a little bit to what my written blog said. I know this conversation about justice may seem a bit spiritual to some of you. In fact, justice is a very spiritual topic, and our warring over it can bring great emotional and mental anguish. This topic is particularly tormenting to me. You see, we named our middle son Justin, well knowing that his name stood for justice. He always wanted to be a cop or a soldier. So when he went into the army, we were very proud of him, acting out of the meaning of his name. He went to Afghanistan in the fall of 2010, motivated by the events of 9/11, and had a great, strong desire to bring about justice to those who died that day. 3 days before his death in Afghanistan, he called me and told me how much he enjoyed the mission he had just been on. It seems as he was clearing roads from IEDs by day, that at night he was sitting around a fire with the locals trying to describe freedom. He related how he felt it was not just that these people from this region did not even know what freedom was. When Justin died, I struggled with my faith. Somehow, I felt prayer and justice should be combined into favorable circumstances for those who believe and participate in those things. Not always so. I'm learning that, although we get to participate in justice, the outcomes of our sincere actions do not always produce what we want. Justice is beyond us. But may we not lose heart in our willingness to participate in the values and actions that help bring about justice for other people.